Welcome back, Mastery Algebra 1. This is Miss Swan, and today I'm going to take you through the rest of 7.5. We're going to put together all of those exponent rules we've learned throughout this chapter. So today's time to practice what we've learned. And we're going to do all these examples without the use of a calculator. I'm going to take you through some, and then I'm going to have you do the rest on your own. So let's start with number 1 on this first page. We have 25 to the 1/2 power. So I have a fraction as my exponent. So we need to think of roots. So the denominator of this fraction, 2, is going to become the index on my root, and my base is going to go inside. I have a numerator of 1, so this is just going to be raised to the first power. Square root of 25 will just give us 5. 5 to the first power, just 5. Let's go ahead and skip down to number 5. I have 16 to the 3/4 power, so another fraction as my exponent. So I need to look at my denominator first. That 4 is going to become the index on my root. So I'm going to have the 4th root of 16 and then take my numerator and put it out front. So the 4th root of 16 and then raise it to the 3rd power. 4th root of 16 will give me 2. 2 cubed should give me 8. Jumping down to number 9, we have 8 to the 2/3 power. So very similar to the last one, the 3 on the denominator is going to be my index on my root. So I'm going to take the 3rd root of 8 and then square it. 3rd root of 8 will get me 2. 2 squared gets me an answer of 4. Jumping down all the way to the bottom of the page, I have 64 to the 5/3 power. So I'm going to look at my denominator first. That 3 is going to become the index on my root. So I'm going to have the 3rd root of 64 and then take that to the 5th power. So the 3rd root of 64 should get me 4. So I'm going to have 4 to the 5th. Multiplying that out, 4 times 4, 5 times, gets me 1,024. Go ahead and hit pause and try the rest of the questions on this page on your own, and then check back your answers. Welcome back. So let's go through the answers for these ones. Also make sure on your page you're showing all your work and double check your answers are correct. Number 2, you should have gotten 3. Number 3 was 3. Number 4 was 4. Number 7 was 9. Number 8 should have been 243. Number 10, 125. Number 11, 16. Number 12, 32. And finally, number 13, 27. If you have any questions on any of these, feel free to ask us. Go ahead and flip to the next page. Let's go through a few of these ones. So starting with number 15, we have this expression and we need to use our properties of exponents to write it with only one positive exponent. Make sure to show all your steps as clearly as possible. So I'm going to take this one piece by piece. This first piece I see, I have 2 to the 4th raised to the 3rd power. So I have a power raised to a power, and that rule states that we need to multiply our exponents. So 2 to the 4 times 3, and then I'm just going to keep all my other factors. So that 2 to the 4 times 3 will just become 2 to the 12th times 2 to the -5 over 2 to the 6th times 2 to the 5th. Now I can go ahead and combine my like terms on the top and the bottom. I notice I have similar bases. Everything has a base of 2, so I can combine them all. So on the top I have 2 to the 12th times 2 to the -5th. So they're being multiplied together so I can add my exponents. So I'll have 2 to the 12 plus -5 on the top. And on the bottom I can do the same thing. Add my exponent. So 2 to the 6 plus 5. Simplifying even further, 12 plus -5 should get me 2 to the 7th. And 6 plus 5, 2 to the 11th. Now I can take this one step further. I have 2 to the 7th divided by 2 to the 11th. I have the same base. So I'm going to subtract my exponents. So 2 to the 7 minus 11 gets me 2 to the -4th. I want to remember, always have positive exponents. So to get rid of that -4, I'm just going to take the reciprocal. 1 over 2 to the 4th. And 2 to the 4th we can simplify. That will just become 16. So 1 over 16. Let's take a look at number 16. So similarly, I'm going to simplify this term first because I see I have a power raised to a power. So I'm going to keep my 3 to the -5th the same. And I know for this next term, I can multiply my exponents. So 2 times 5 will get me an exponent of 10. And on the denominator, I still have my 3 to the 8th times 3 to the negative first. So now I have all the same bases, so I can combine my exponents. So I'm multiplying on the numerator, so I am going to add my exponents together. So negative 5 plus 10. Similarly for the bottom, I'll have 8 plus negative 1. We simplify that, we should get 3 to the 5th power on the numerator and 3 to the 7th power on the denominator. Take it another step further, I have 3 to the 5th divided by 3 to the 7th, so I can subtract my exponents. So I have 3 to the 5 minus 7, that will become 3 to the negative 2 power. Always remember we want positive exponents, so I'm just going to take the reciprocal, 1 over 3 squared. Well, 3 squared we know is 9, so I can simplify that even further to 1/9. Number 17, very similar to the last one, 64. All right, number 18. Got a few more steps in this one. So I'm just going to take it one piece at a time. So I have 5 to the 3rd raised to the 6th power. So I have a power to a power, so I can multiply my exponents. 3 times 6 will get me an exponent of 18. Similarly for the next one, negative 4 times 7 will get me negative 28. And on the bottom, multiply my exponents. 4 times negative 2 becomes negative 8. Now I can combine. So on the numerator, I have 5 to the 18th times 5 to the negative 28th. So I need to add my exponents. 18 plus negative 28 will get me 5 to the negative 10th on the numerator. And on the denominator, I still have my 5 to the negative 8th. Simplifying even further, I know since I'm dividing, I need to subtract my exponents. So 5 to the negative 10 minus negative 8 should get me 5 to the negative 2 power, which simplified even further, 1 over 5 squared, which we know is just 1 over 25. All right, go ahead and hit pause and try the last 6 problems on this page on your own and check back for your answers. All right, welcome back. So looking at these answers, also make sure you are showing all your work clearly on your paper. For number 19, all simplified, we should have ended up with 1/6. Number 20 should have ended up as 1 over 7 to the 17th power. We can go ahead and leave that denominator with an exponent. 7 to the 17th power we can't really do in our heads, so go ahead and leave that one. For 21, we should get 1 over x. 22, 1 over y cubed. 23 will become z to the 4th, and 24, all simplified, just becomes 1. If you notice on the denominator, we had our product raised to the 0 power. We know anything raised to the 0 power just becomes 1, so our denominator simplified to 1. Numerator also simplified to 1 when we multiplied all that out. So we just ended up with 1 over 1, which equals 1. Go ahead and flip to the next page. Do a few questions on this one. So skipping straight to number 4, I have x cubed times x to the negative 3rd. So I have the same base, and we're multiplying together, so I can add my exponents. So I have 3 plus negative 3. Well, 3 plus negative 3 just gets me 0. So I have x to the 0 power. Anything raised to the 0 power is just going to get me 1. So x to the 0 will just be 1. Skipping to number 9, I like to take this one step by step. So I'm going to do my numerator first and combine my terms, and then my denominator. So if I look at my numerator, I have the same base. They both are just x's, so I can add my exponents. So 3 plus 4 will get me an exponent of 7. And then I can do the same thing for the denominator. I can add my exponents. 7 plus 10 will get me an exponent of 17. So I have x to the 7th over x to the 17th. Now I have the same base still, and we're dividing, so I can subtract my exponents. This will become x to the 7 minus 17. 7 minus 17 gets me negative 10. So I have x to the negative 10th. Always make sure you have a positive exponent in your answer, so I need to take the reciprocal. So I should end up with 1 over x to the 10th. Jumping down to number 17. So for this one, I have some negative signs, so I need to be extra careful that I don't lose them. So I like to put in little ones just to keep track of them. I'm not changing anything in the answer. Negative times x to the 4th is the same thing as saying negative 1 times x to the 4th, but it'll help me keep track of them. So I have a product raised to a power. So I need to distribute that power to every factor in that product. So I'm going to have negative 1 to the squared. Then I'm going to take my x to the 4th and square it, and that y and square it. and then I'm going to leave my 1, negative 1, x, y the same. All right, simplifying that one, negative 1 squared, well, a negative times a negative always gets me a positive, so negative 1 times negative 1 is just going to be positive 1. Then I see I have x to the 4th raised to the 2nd power, so I have a power to a power, which tells me I need to multiply my exponents. So 4 times 2 gets me x to the 8th, and then my y squared, and my negative 1 xy. So now combining my terms, I always want to make sure to have my coefficient or my numbers out front. So I have a 1 and I have a negative 1. 1 times negative 1 is going to get me negative 1. Then I want to look at my x's. I have an x to the 8th and an x to the 1st power. So we're multiplying so I can add my exponents. So 8 plus 1 gets me x to the 9th. And similarly for my y's, I have a y squared and a y to the 1st power. Adding my exponents, 2 plus 1 gets me 3, so I got a y to the 3rd. Altogether, I get a negative x to the 9th, y cubed. All right, and number 20. This one, there's a couple of different ways you can do this. You can go ahead and distribute the negative 2 to every factor in that fraction inside the parentheses, or you can go ahead and get rid of the negative on it and take the reciprocal of whatever inside the fraction. I like to get rid of my negative first, so let's go ahead and try it that way. So to get rid of that negative sign on the exponent outside, I'm just going to flip the whole fraction that's inside, or just take the reciprocal of it. And then this exponent will become a positive 2. So now I can go ahead and distribute that 2 to every factor inside. So distributing it to the numerator, I'm going to have c squared, and to the denominator, I have an a to the negative 2 squared and a b cubed squared. So now it looks like my numerator's all simplified. So now I just have to worry about my denominator. So I have a power to a power, which means I need to multiply my exponents. So I'll have c squared still on top. A will become negative 2 times 2 gets me negative 4. And similarly for b, multiplying my exponents, 3 times 2 gets me 6. So b to the 6th. Now last step, always double check and make sure you have all positive exponents. I see a negative 4 exponent on my a, so I need to get rid of that one. So I need to take the reciprocal. So when it's on the bottom, taking the reciprocal, that a to the 4th is going to move to the top. So I'll have a to the 4th c squared all over b to the 6th. And I am all simplified. So go ahead and hit pause and try the rest of the problems on your own on this page. And check back once you're done. All right, welcome back. So going through these answers for number 1, should have gotten a to the 8th. Number 2 was y to the 5th. Number 3 was 1 over t squared. Number 5 was x. Number 6 simplified to just 1. Number 7 should have gotten y to the 14th power. Number 8, y squared. Number 10, be careful of that negative sign. Negative 3 cubed still gets me a negative, so negative 27 y cubed. Number 11, 16 x to the 4th. Number 12, y to the 12th. Number 13, 25 over 81. Number 14 was just 1. 15, negative 16 y to the 7th. 16, 40 x to the 12th, y to the 9th. 18, p to the 13th over q to the 6th. And finally, number 19, y to the 6th over 2 to the x. So if you have any questions on any of those, please come and ask us. That's all for the notes. Make sure you do the bookwork, page 451, numbers 26, 27, 28, 30, and 34. All right, that's all for today. And remember, do your best, forget the rest. Bye for now.